Oh, Seven Citizens Black here from Casa Black Gaming, where I get right to the point with all of my guides so you can get back out into the verse. Today I wanted to offer up a quick loadout for the all-new Drake Corsair. Now this will be an early build, and so some things might change either by the devs themselves or after more flight testing from me, but this should be helpful in getting an early jump at some of the best components you can currently use, and with my nifty little graphics that provide some location options, you can pause the screen to easily see where you need to go to find the components you're after. Now remember, if this is not your first time checking out my channel, then please consider subbing, and while you're at it, if you wouldn't mind helping me fight the evil tyrannical YouTube algorithm by liking this video and even commenting on how you're liking the Corsair so far, or maybe even sharing some of the components you found to be better. And so with all of that out of the way, let's go ahead and get to the build. Alright, so I like to start off these loadouts with the ship components first, as they are usually the most expensive. Now for the shields, we get a single size 3, so the FR86 is usually the shield I go with, as it's currently the best size 3 that is available for the Corsair. You can head to either Cousin Crow's or Area 18's Dumpers Depot to pick this up, and the cost is around 136,000 credits. So moving on to the power plants, which can be optional at the moment until we get the ship component revamp that will be happening sometime after 318 next year. But if you happen to think you will come under fire from distortion weapons and think you'll need more protection from those, you can swap them out for 2 of the size 2 JS400s, which are also available at Cousin Crow's or Area 18's Dumpers Depot, but also out at the Hurrell 2 Platinum Bay Shop as well. Now each one of these is going to set you back 53,150 credits, so honestly I would only buy one if you buy any at all, unless you just have credits coming out your ears. Again, most people use the stock power plants and coolers, as they are not currently doing much unless you upgrade your components and you find you cannot power up your ship, but this seems unlikely. Alright, moving on to the Quantum Drive, the size 2 XL1 is the one I would spring for, so you can get about the verse the quickest you can, and it will probably be the first item you need to buy. The XL1 can be picked up at Cousin Crow's or Port Tressler, and if you started out at Microtech, then flying up to Port Tressler is just a no-brainer to pick this up, so you can get that started running around the verse to pick up the remaining components. The cost of the XL1 is 94,900 credits, which is costly but definitely worth it. Alright, so now let's move on to the ship weapons, which is where things get really interesting. For an expedition ship, this thing is looking like it, for now anyway, that it might be one of the best gunfighting ships around, and certainly is one of the best, if not the very best, pilot-controlled DPS ships in the game, with 6 guns the pilot can control. But I would expect things to change, so enjoy it while it lasts. Anyway, let's start off with the 4 nose guns, which come equipped stock with gimbal size 4 laser cannons. Now you have choices here. You can leave the gimbals on, and even leave on the laser cannons if that's your bag, or you can swap those size 4 laser cannons for laser repeaters, which I could see many people doing, especially if you're going out after small to medium fast ships. So the size 4 laser repeaters I would pick up would be the CF447 Rhinos, which you can find at quite a few places such as Center Mass on New Babbage, as well as out in space at Arc L2, Her L3, Her L5, and more. As for the other 2 guns, you can control from the pilot seat, and with keeping with leaving our gimbals on, you should swap those 2 over to CF337 Panthers, which you can find at New Babbage's Center Mass as well, along with a few more places out at space stations like Her L4, Mick L3, and Her L2. Now if you want to upgrade your firepower, and this is what most will be doing, I suggest removing those 6 gimbals and upgrading to 4 size 5 fixed weapons for those nose, and then 2 size 4 weapons for the other 2 hardpoints. Now you can go for some heavy hitting laser cannons to take on those ERT bounties by upgrading to 4 of the Omniski 15 laser cannons found at Center Mass on New Babbage, Center Mass on Area 18, or even at the station Her L3. These massive cannons will set you back 59,300 credits each, so a heads up there on the cost of these. The other 2 weapons you will want to change to are the 2 Omniski 12s, which can be found at Center Mass on both New Babbage and Area 18 again, and also out at Her L4 and Her L5 stations, if you prefer those locations off-world. And again, each one of those lesser Omniskis will still set you back almost 44,000 credits, so you're looking at over 320,000 credits to upgrade those bad boys. But what if laser cannons aren't your thing? Well, if you like laser cannons instead, and you want to go with a laser repeater build, then you can get 4 of the CF557 Galderine repeaters, which you can only find at center mass on either New Babbage or Area 18. Now as for the other 2 laser repeaters on this build, you can go with 2 of the CF447 Rhinos we spoke of earlier, which again can be picked up at numerous places like center mass on New Babbage, Arc L3, Her L3, and of course Mick L3, just to name a few. But what about the remote turret and man turrets? Well, those are fixed sizes, meaning you won't be able to swap out anything for bigger sizes, and so the 6 CF227 Badgers that come stock are what you'll be sticking with, as using laser repeaters on turrets is usually the best thing to go with for turrets who will be needing to fast fire smaller ships who are attempting to attack from your weak points. Alright, let's move on to the missiles. The Corsair comes stock with 8 size 3 cross-section missiles. Now, most people prefer the electromagnetic missiles because they tend to hit their targets more often than the rest, at least for now until we get more weapon changes. So I would swap those over to 8 of the Thunderbolt 3s, which you can find at the aforementioned center mass on New Babbage and Area 18, and also throughout many space stations like Arc L3, Mick L3, Her L2, and so on. Now another option is to change out the missile racks for smaller or even larger missile racks, but this changes how many missiles you can equip per missile rack. For instance, if you want size 4 missiles, you could change the racks out to 4 of the MSD 414s, which can be found at Her L3, Her L4, as well as center mass on New Babbage and Area 18. But you would only be able to have 4 total missiles, but they'd be size 4 Raptor 4s, which can be found at the same locations as those racks, and they're pretty big hitters. Now, if you prefer to go smaller than the size 3s that come stock and want to go down to size 2s to have double the amount of stock missiles, you can pick up 4 of the MSD 442 missile racks at New Babbage and Area 18, and then slap on 16 of the Dominator 2s, which will give you quite a bit of missiles to use, and might be better if you'll be out for longer periods and want some nice starter missiles to get some hits on before you begin your fight. Now, if you want even more missiles, you also have the option of swapping out the missile racks to MSD 481 racks, which are found at Dumpers Depot on Area 18, or quite a few of the space stations such as Her L3, Her L4, Crew L5, to name a few. Now with these missile racks, you can equip up to 32 Pioneer 1s, which those missiles can be found on center mass on New Babbage and Area 18 or at Her L5. The balance you want to strike is up to you. Personally, I like the size 2s to offer up a little less firepower, but having 16 missiles is pretty nice. Alright, now a new feature I'm adding are some quick tips to help you find the most components with the least amount of stops. Area 18 is the place I would head to pick up the majority of your parts, no matter which build you go with. Between Dumpers Depot and center mass on Area 18, you will find the bulk of your parts and weapons. The engine will be one of those one-off shops you head for, which for that one I do recommend going to Microtech's Orbital Station Port Tressler for. Other than that, you might have to make a couple of quick stops at some of the space stations, just depending on which build you go with, but the majority of components that will get you started are going to be on Area 18. And that's going to do it for this quick loadout of the Drake Corsair. I hope you found the options I provided useful, and I really want to hear how you guys are liking the ship so far, and let me know what build is working for you. Now remember to be kind to your fellow gamer, protect your underbelly at all costs, and stay positive, citizens.